It's BRS360 Thursday, episode 3, and it's time to share that second part of my reefing journey where BRS and BRStv came from. Like last week, many parts I've never told on YouTube before. Hopefully you'll get a deeper insight into what we do here and what these series are all about. That's coming up. Hey, I'm Ryan, your host of BRStv, where it's all about fun, successful paths to tanks you can be proud of. This is the BRS360, a full circle journey taking everything we've learned about reefing, transforming those experiences into a 360-gallon reef tank. This week is all about the backstory, context for what you're going to see in this series. Where did BRS and BRStv come from? You probably won't learn a whole lot about how to set up or maintain a reef tank today, so it might seem a bit foreign to start a series on building a reef tank this way, but my personal tank, BRS and BRStv, has always been the backstory for all the builds we've done together. Today you'll see how two guys with $3 grand each quit their jobs, built bulk resupply, and at the same time went from that first view on YouTube to 1,300 individual reefing videos, nearly 50 million total views, and ultimately what's known as BRStv in the process. I think you'll find this story is less about us and more about the community's thirst for knowledge and passion for their tanks. Last week, you all got to see my first tank. I didn't know it at the time, but that wasn't just my first reef tank. It also turned into a business. BRStv is really the end product of 4 reefing business endeavors. For those that are interested, we'll dive into that a little bit deeper in today's live immediately following this episode. But I would like to give some context as to how this all came together. There are 2 phases in today's journey, the 4 businesses that led up to bulk resupply, and how BRS transformed into what it is today and BRStv. The first endeavor was just reef chili. 9 to 12 months into my first reef tank, I decided to make my own frozen coral food by chopping up shrimp, fish, clams, scallops, fish eggs, nori, phytoplankton, copepods, golden pearls, amino acids, fatty acids, selco, daphnia, all kinds of things. Making my own food was just an extension of the hobby and something I enjoyed. However, after using it for a few months, I realized I'd made like 20 years worth, so I asked my local club if anyone wanted to buy some. I sold it all in 10 minutes and had requests for 10 times as much. Reef Chili was born that day simply because some of my reefing peers, like me, wanted a different approach to feeding their fish and corals. As a hobbyist, it was a dream come true for me when University of Hawaii tested the dry Reef Chili and found it to be one of the most beneficial coral foods they tested. The next endeavor most of you probably never heard of because it's pretty old, but it was called mjmods.com. I wish I could remember who started this project so I could give them credit, but I found a thread on Reef Central where people were modifying MaxiJet pumps with radio-controlled boat props to make do-it-yourself power heads. Probably hard for you to understand why anyone would do that, but at the time, Toons power heads were the only maker of high-flow power heads, and they cost $250 a piece, so turning a $30 MaxiJet into a $250 pump was a pretty attractive concept and fit what was a hobby to me. The project was something almost anyone could do. It worked great, except there were a couple of challenges. Buying all the components individually was super expensive, hard to source, and it was really hard to center the impeller perfectly. A local club member that went by the name Spaz solved that second issue by CNCing out some caps for me, which makes centering the rod effortless. In the end, so many people wanted the caps, they just started putting together cheap kits that had everything you needed to do the project with clear instructions. mjmods.com was born. At the height, reefers were buying nearly 2,000 of these kits a month. Each of these were hand-built in my basement using the tools that I had available. It's a miracle I still have fingers because it was not the safest process. I'd like to throw out some credit here to Andrew Lawson, who was down there every weekend helping me build these. In fact, he's been with me almost the entire way and currently our senior purchasing agent here at BRS 15 years later. The third venture is the unsuccessful one. I was growing coral so fast in my display tank, I thought I could grow them in frag tanks and sell them. I saved up and ultimately spent tens of thousands of dollars getting the systems, electrical, ventilation, and livestock for a coral propagation business based around 2 4x8 foot tanks and some clown breeding fish tanks. In the end, I could have saved myself some time by piling all that money up day one and lighting it on fire. I'd call this a total failure for a variety of reasons. First, my skill set was not ready for this scale, but even if it was, I think I would have still failed because I was doing it for the wrong reasons. No one was clamoring for another place to buy zoanthids, clownfish, or bubble tips at the time. I was doing this to make money and an extension of a personal hobby for me. I believe because I was thinking about my own desires, not how I can help others, is why it failed. Some of you may remember the fourth endeavor as twopartsolution.com. Around 2007, everyone was into the DIY chem trend with Dow Flake, a special brand of magnesium ice melt, and baking baking soda in the oven. Problem was finding the 50-pound bags if you didn't live in a winter state or have a wholesale account with a chem supplier. It was just hard to find that special brand of magnesium chloride that was deemed safe. It's just near impossible to find. Turns out we had distributors for both in Minneapolis, and they helped us source a suitable source of soda ash so reefers didn't have to bake the baking soda in the oven to turn it into soda ash. In this case, I brought in a coworker and friend, Andrew Dunneman. We created twopartsolution.com. Andrew and I had worked at a grocery store together for a brief time, and by chance, later found ourselves working at the same steakhouse for many years together as well. The problem we were solving turned out to be legit. The difficulty finding this stuff was so hard that the day we opened twopartsolution.com, we had 10 orders a day, and it went from there. During the next year or so, we added bulk carbon, GFO, RO filters, dry rock, and other options, bulk reef supply, and shortly after, BRStv was born. So looking back at that journey, 3 successes based on helping people find what they were looking for or solving unique challenges, and 1 failure based on what I was looking for. There's a lesson in there, at least for me. At that point, there were 2 things that happened that catapulted BRS. One most people probably don't know about, which is a business framework called EOS, which gave a method to the madness, and of course, the entrance of BRStv. I don't want to bore everyone with entrepreneurial books, but if anyone is interested in EOS or the book Traction, ask in today's live and I'll share a bit more. It's just a healthy working structure for achieving goals. However, without BRStv, I think that would have been a moot point. The very first episode was based on my own frustration. Back in 2004, things were not like they are today. I had a handful of SPS corals that never grew. I went to the store and asked about calcium, and they sold me a container of Kent Turbo Calcium. The instructions more or less said add a teaspoon every week or so. I did that and nothing happened, so I just stopped. A while later, a local club member came over to my house, showed me how to mix do-it-yourself 2-part, which was a lot cheaper. More importantly, explained that it's both calcium and alkalinity that's important. Alkalinity even more so. Best results come from daily additions, showed me a calculator which did it accurately, and then set up a couple dosing pumps that make it happen, and boom. The tank was off to the races. That 30 minutes they spent with me was a miraculous experience that transformed the tank and my hobby. An experience that founded episode 1 of BRStv in June 26, 2008, over 11 years ago. I asked my business partner for $1,000 to buy a digital camera and try and recreate that experience on YouTube, which itself was only 3 years old at the time. BRStv was born with an 8-minute video on how to source, mix, adjust current levels, begin daily dosing of 2-part, and automate it if you want. An attempt to replicate that experience that someone gifted me and transformed my tank. Only part that was missing was the why calcium and alkalinity even matters, or the science behind it, which would come later as I got better at this. I think it's pretty obvious I had 0 skills at video at the time. After that came the RODI videos, plumbing, carbon, GFO, drilling holes, silencing your overflow, all based on my own challenges and just a wish that someone had told me before I did it wrong the first few times, or even prevented me from stopping doing the right thing because I didn't know what to expect from the results. For instance, I brought a 110-gallon tank into a store to be drilled once, which required a couple of guys to carry it, a bunch of time, cash, and a pain in the butt. Later, someone showed me how ridiculously easy it is to do this at home, and I just had to share it with others so they could avoid that frustration. This is where this comes full circle with the beginning of today's episode. Turns out with BRStv, we're filling a demand that I didn't even realize, but looking back, it's clear the biggest source of pent-up demand in the reefing industry wasn't more products, better products, or even cheaper products. It was actually an easy-to-find source of accurate, helpful information that makes reefing easier, helps newer reefers find higher percentage paths to desired results, and in turn, makes the hobby more fun. Well, we were selling product, helping others succeed at their desired goals in life is that reciprocal relationship where everyone was winning. Fast forward today, while there is a retail business that supports BRStv and we do want to sell gear, the most fulfilling path to that is helping identify the right tool for the right job, how to use that gear to achieve the desired results, and what the results look like when realized. When those looking for information are able to find it, the success rates, results, and enjoyment just go up. In the end, reefer success with their tanks is our success, and again, that reciprocal relationship where everyone wins. A success that's really allowed us to keep working on the quality, accuracy, quantity, and helpfulness within BRStv. So that's really what these series have all been about, ranging from Reed and I's how to start a saltwater tank in my basement, clown harem build in the lobby, BRS160 and 52 weeks of reefing in the studio, BRS WWC hybrid in the lobby in my office, clear paths to success, documented, explored, and sharing the successes right along with the failures, learning together. Now this time on a 360-gallon tank I plan on maintaining for a decade plus in my home. Hopefully all this provides a clearer picture to the professional journey and how connected it is to my personal reefing journey. Even more so than the reef tank itself, my personal passion is learning new things and then sharing them. And this is just a good time to thank everyone for helping me find my dream job, where Randy, the team, and I all get to explore all things reefing every day, learn and share almost in real time. Without all of you caring about your tanks, sharing the same passion for learning, sharing, and producing reef tanks we can be proud of, none of this would be possible, so big thank you to you. In just a couple hours, we got two things happening. First, Randy, my friend Jeff Jacobson, and I are going live and talking reef businesses, so you can ask us anything you want to know. We'll share the secret sauce. Jeff is a local tank installer and does some of the best tanks in Minneapolis, and the owner of Vibrant. As a special bonus after today, I'm also going to walk around and give you a tour of the 30+ tanks here at BRS, so by the end of the day, there'll be a link here to the live and a link here to the tour. Pick your pleasure.